Okay, folks, good evening, everyone, and I'd like to thank you all for coming along and extend a warm welcome to tonight's guest lecture by Tina McKenzie entitled Against All Odds from 0 to 180 million in 5 years. My name is Darryl Cummins and I'm Head of Department for Management, Leadership and Marketing at the Ulster University Business School. And tonight's event has been organised by the Business School and the Development and Alumni Relations Office, and we should thank them for their hard work in making tonight happen. So on to Tina. Tina's a graduate of the university, having studied a BA Honours in Philosophy in 1995 at Coleraine when she was just 6 years old, amazingly. And we're delighted she's come back this evening to share a wonderful journey with us. Tina's remained a powerful advocate of the university throughout her career, and most recently, she was the industry representative on the validation panel for our new MSc in Strategic Growth. Tina sat as an industry representative on that panel for us, and thanks to her enthusiasm, determination, and really singing the praises of the course, it helped us get through that validation process extremely successfully, and we thank you for that. And just a shameless plug before we move on. For more information around you'll see a brochure, a leaflet on your chairs. There's also an event next Wednesday evening back here if you'd like to come along to find out more about that course. So plug over, move on. Outside of Ulster, Tina has done quite well for herself too. She's a CEO of Grafton Recruitment Ireland, the Policy Chair for Federation of Small Businesses in Northern Ireland, and the Honorary Counsel to Finland. With over 25 years' experience in the recruitment and employment services sector at international and local level, she's worked with some of the world's largest blue-chip companies. Tina set up the Ireland division of Staffline in 2013. Despite only starting out with 2 members of staff, Tina made a bold and ambitious target to expand her operation and hit a target of £100 million turnover within 5 years. Under Tina's strategic and ambitious vision, Staffline entered a period of significant organic and acquired growth. In July 2018, Tina secured the largest acquisition of a recruitment business in Ireland, with Grafton Recruitment joining Staffline's group's portfolio, which already includes People Plus and Diamond Recruitment. The company now has an estimated turnover of 180 million, so the 100 million was well and truly smashed, and hence the title of tonight's lecture, employing 250 permanent staff and a contracted workforce of up to 10,000 people across Ireland. Tina is strongly committed to growing her recruitment and training offer, bringing a determination and energy to creating jobs and opportunities for people living on the island of Ireland. In her role as Policy Chair of FSB, Tina is dedicated to developing a more proactive approach to policy development in order to improve the environment to help local businesses to thrive. As Honorary Counsel to Finland, Tina works to strengthen the ties between Finland and Ireland. In doing so, she particularly looks to identify synergies between the respective countries, particularly in relation to education and the economy. Tina has also served as the Northern Ireland Director of the Recruitment and Employment Confederation between 2013 and 2016, and as the European Ambassador for Women's Entrepreneurship Day in 2016. She has received a number of awards, including the Director of the Year for Mid-Market Companies from the Institute of Directors in 2017, and the Outstanding Leadership and Management Award from Women in Business in that same year. In November 2018, Tina was awarded the prestigious Business Eye Personality of the Year Award. And breathe. In terms of the format for the rest of this evening, Tina will come on stage shortly to deliver her lecture for about an hour, and then following that we'll have about 15 minutes for question and answers. So before I sit down, I'll just leave you with this one comment from one of Tina's ex-clients. Tina McKenzie is a force to be reckoned with. I found her to be inspirational, and I was impressed with her ability to command any room that she entered. Tina's passion for the recruitment industry and the future of Northern Ireland is refreshing and motivated me daily. So without further ado, I'm delighted and proud to welcome on stage our guest speaker and distinguished Ulster University graduate, Tina McKenzie.
Hello everyone. Hello, hello. Distinguished Ulster graduate, I only got a third, so I wasn't that distinguished. And in fact, when I showed up to Coleraine, it was really just to get out of Belfast and get away and live away from home. And all my sisters were at the front here, so get away from them stealing all my stuff. But basically, yeah, as it is when you've got a large house of girls and not a lot of stuff. Whoever gets up first gets it all. So basically, I got to Coleraine and I had a few friends from school, a few boys and a few girls, and we were all going to share a house in Portrush. Well, what better for somebody from Belfast to actually go and live at the beach? That's all I was excited about. And when I got up there and we went to register, and true style, my attention to detail, and the attention to sound isn't great, the attention to detail, I got down and I sat to register, and the lady said to me, "What are you here for?" And I said, "Politics." And she said, "Well, we don't do politics." And I said, "Well, I've already got my house with my friends and everything else. I'm staying in Portrush." And she said, "Right." And I said, "So what else do you do that's like politics?" "Philosophy." "That'll do." I didn't know what it was, and when I graduated 3 years later, I clearly didn't know what it was. I think you only really understand philosophy like poetry when you're in your 40s, so I understand it a bit now. Wittgenstein and all of that. So that was my Ulster University introduction. I got involved in everything. You know, when you walk into Coleraine, there was, on one side of the stairs were the rugby boys, on the other side were the Gaelic boys. I was involved with them all. And it was, I showed no preference to sport. I just got involved with all of the sports. I also worked in the bar, on the buses, and we were called the ENTS team. So ENTS, and we got 15 quid a night, and you could still go out, have a full night out, as long as you didn't drink. And you went on the bus on the way there, and on the way back, you minded the drunks on the way back, which was also great fun. So I had a brilliant time, as well as working semi-hard. So academically, I was probably never, and I recently did a talk at St Oliver Plunkett School. One of the teachers was here. A big shout out to Joanne. I did a talk to a group of children at St Oliver Plunkett School last week. And there were P5s, P6s and P7s. And I thought it was really important to tell the children that if you're not that academic, if your brain doesn't work in the way that you're brilliant at taking in information, memory, detail, and your little swat like my little Molly here, her brain works very different to mine, thank the Lord, then it doesn't mean that just because you don't get qualifications that you're a write-off. Because I know the people that work around me every day, it's like an orchestra. Those people that are great on the violin are definitely not going to be good on the piano, isn't that right, Roger? Roger ran orchestras. So it was really important for me to get the message out to the children that actually, just because you're not academic doesn't mean you're not talented, certainly doesn't mean you're not intelligent, and doesn't mean you can't do whatever you want to do as long as you work hard enough at it. So that's kind of a bit of my story. I did a master's, dropped out because I had a better job offer, but maybe one day I'll finish that master's, you never know. So on to the story. The good news is it's only going to be about 25 minutes, not going to be an hour, because if you're all like me, you'll have ants in your pants, and I'll try and make it as entertaining for you as possible. So, I am going to tell you a little bit about recruitment, just a little bit, just so you've got an idea of what it's about, and how and why recruitment companies make money. I think there's a myth out there that recruiters, like car salespeople and advertising sales, are bad people. They're exploiting people, 0 hours contracts. That's not true. Certainly not true. Can everybody still hear me? Yeah. Good. Well, we'll continue. Probably don't need sound. We'll continue on. I put this quote up because I think it's very important. Some people are really good at seeing opportunities. Some people are really good at seeing problems. And you decide which one you want to be in life. Do you see the downside or do you see the upside? I think one of my limited talents is that I see opportunities. Sometimes I see them too early, and I'll refer to that later on as we go along, and I fall flat on my face. Sometimes I see them and they're not really opportunities, but I think there's a knack, and I think there is a skill at seeing an opportunity and pushing forward for it, and not being afraid to push forward as well. So, what's interesting to me in the economy today is that actually we hear a lot about the B word, Brexit. And I think Darren mentioned I'm the Honorary Consul to Finland. One of my first meetings there last year, we had a briefing from the Trade Minister, and I got into trouble because I took out my phone and I was taking pictures for Twitter, and I had a big hand on my shoulder, and they said, "This is not for public. You do not share this." I was so sorry, I didn't know the etiquette. I'll delete it now. What was interesting was they were talking about what are the threats to the economy, what are the threats to Europe, what are the threats to the European economy. Brexit wasn't mentioned in the top 5. And all we hear, our news, what we read, social media, is Brexit overload. And I think we've got to understand, especially for the island of Ireland and our little piece here in Northern Ireland, what are the opportunities as well as the threats for our economy? And when you understand the waves that are going through the world economy, you can start to see where potentially there might be some opportunity. And I think just sometimes for us in this little place, we're sometimes bombarded by the same messages, and it's important for all of us to look up and out, because there's other things going on outside of the United Kingdom, the island of Ireland and Europe. There's a lot going on, but there's a lot of opportunity with what's going on, because in every piece of chaos, everything that's going wrong, there could be an opportunity. The recruitment industry is huge. I fell into it accidentally. I left Northern Ireland, and Caroline said I'm not allowed to say anything personal, but I did. I met a boy on holiday, and I left Northern Ireland and went to London, and he said he would put me up in Windsor, which was lovely actually. I don't know if anyone's been to Windsor. It's very, very nice. And I walked into a recruitment agency to get a job, and when I'd worked with probation services, and when you've worked in the public sector, you can be a bit like, well, I'm not going to the private sector. I'd like a job in the public sector. And they said, well, we don't have anything for you. And I said, well, probably I could do your job. Oh, no. You couldn't do my job. Red flag to a bull. I probably didn't even want the job, but I was going to get the job. So I met her boss, and she said, you've got 2 choices, Tina. You can either go to Hounslow. I didn't know where that was. It's a place in West London. Or you can go to Slough. And I had heard of Slough because that's where they make Mars bars. The biggest industrial estate is that, right? That's where they make the Mars bars. And I said, well, which job do you make most money in? Not which job is easier, not which job has the shortest hours, not which job can I go out and party at Ealing and then get to the office easily enough for. Which job can I make the most money and the most impact? Well, definitely Hounslow. I'll take it. I didn't really realise, my attention to detail again, I didn't really realise I had to start every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was dealing with the bin men, the refuse people, and the street sweepers. Well, I fit it right in. I'm from West Belfast. I fit it right in. And what I mean by that is that people had hearts of gold. They worked really hard. They were very down to earth, and they were very accepting. It wasn't long before, and I had so much fun. It was unbelievable. And it wasn't long before I found it really easy. Now, I'd been working from I was 12, so dealing with older men, and that's what I had, and that's what I was dealing with. Dealing with older men wasn't difficult for me because I was able to show a bit of authority, and I was able to say, if you do that again, you will not work for me. And I'd rip up the card and throw it in the bin when they did it again, and all us recruiters out here have done this. And then I was stuck the next morning, 6 in the morning, I'd take the card out and say, it's your last chance. It's your very last chance. And that's how it went. So quite quickly I became, I think within 3 months, someone else left. It was a very hard, difficult time, difficult job. I worked 6 to 6. And I'm a numbers girl, so I was always looking to see who has the highest numbers in this game in the UK. Well, guess what the highest numbers? It was Premier People, and the highest numbers were sitting in Belfast. And I thought, right, I've got to beat Belfast. That's interesting. So I got up the numbers, and I booked more out every day, and we had a good time at night, and you were coming in after 3 hours sleep and booking more out. You were just on a high and working really hard all the time. And quite quickly, I became the manager of Hounslow. I became the manager then of Wembley. The Wembley guy walked out. There's nobody else. I thought I was getting promoted. They were just stuck. They said, you're going to have Wembley as well. Wembley was interesting, especially the night that a temp didn't get paid, and he decided that he was going to threaten me with a knife. And I was standing at the door, 6:30 on a Friday night, and it was a dark door, I'll never forget it, Wembley High Road, and he hadn't got paid, and I said, I'm really sorry, because these people are living week to week, living on not a lot of money. And I offered him what I had in my purse, and I said, I'm so sorry. And he said, and I said, look, don't be coming out with all that, take the money. He calmed down, he went away, and it was fine. So some of the situations we had were really, really tough, but I think, again, being from Belfast, I was probably able to handle it in a way that maybe some of my colleagues that were from Sutton Coldfield or all those nice places like Brighton wouldn't have come back. So the recruitment market in the United Kingdom is worth about £32 billion. That's because it's sophisticated and it's mature. And across the world, you can see the biggest market there is the United States. That's going to change because as we see the increase in China and in India and the countries that are really developing, you're going to see the recruitment industry in those countries really go through the roof over the next 5 to 10 years. Why? Simply because flexibility is key to successful companies. Any multinational, I sometimes meet company directors, especially in Northern Ireland, people that have started their own companies, and they say, why would I use an agency, Tina? And I'm thinking, God, he doesn't know he already is, but I won't, I won't shatter his illusion. And I said, well, why do you think the biggest companies in the world are spending money on agencies? It's simple. It's not because they're stupid, it's because they know it makes sense, it saves them money, makes them more efficient and more productive. It's dead simple. The United Kingdom is a mature market, very big. Ireland is slightly different. Ireland is a bit of an immature market. So Northern Ireland in total has a value of about 500 million versus 32 billion across the United Kingdom. The Republic of Ireland, interestingly, has a market of about 2.5 billion. So 3 billion for the island versus 32 across the UK versus 122 in the United States and growing. This is not something that's going away. This is not something that a government's going to come up and say, we're going to put in legislation that we're not going to have flexibility. Flexibility is here to stay, and it's here to stay for 2 reasons. Companies need flexibility. It's no surprise that when it's hot outside, our temporary numbers go really high because we supply way more staff to produce the salads and the barbecue food that you're buying because it's a sunny day. When we see a sunny day, we think hallelujah. Which isn't very often in Northern Ireland, of course, but hey-ho. And the second reason is that people are changing. It's no surprise. People don't work in the same job for 20, 30 years anymore. And if you think they do, you're living in Cloud Cuckoo land. People, except maybe at the university, I don't know. Because it's such a brilliant job and it's such great benefits. And you're constantly being upskilled and CPD'd and you've got a wonderful leader and all that. So, people don't. People want flexibility. People want to work when they want to work, where they want to work, for how long they want to work, and that is going to grow, especially with the growth of technology. So it's just going to become more, and governments may say, we're going to squeeze it, and they talk a lot about 0 hours. We don't use 0 hours. What's interesting for me is I sat in the BBC one Sunday, can't remember the lady's name, you probably know the lady that does the BBC on a Sunday, Rachel Macaulay. And we were talking about 0 hours. And she said, well, Tina, she had a go. You're an agency. You're doing 0 hours. That's not very nice to people. And I said, we don't even run 0 hours. And she held over the mic and she said, we're all on 0 hours here in the BBC. And I said, I know. The schools are running 0 hours because they're running lists. The universities are running lists. Most of the public sector have got lists of people that they use when they need to. So the myths about 0 hours out there, sometimes I think we get this headline and we all go, well, that's terrible. But you have to take it apart and say, okay, what actually is this? What do people actually want? What kind of contracts do they want? And what's going to grow? So for me, coming home, I worked internationally. I grew companies here. I came back from London when I had this little girl who's 17. In 2001, I came home to Belfast. And I worked and I grew offices all over Northern Ireland for a Dutch company. And I know Aileen was one of those people in that company. And then they said, Northern Ireland's too small a market. We need our talent in GB. We're doing the biggest global acquisition and we need you to integrate some of these companies. So we packed up our stuff and we left and we bought a house in the middle of Wales in a place called Wells because it was a mansion. And I thought, wow, imagine us living in a mansion. Well, the reason, that's true. And it was a mansion. It was 9,000 square feet with an indoor swimming pool that you'd find at the leisure centre. That's the size the mansion was. And we were both working class kids, living in terrace houses, my husband and I. We thought we were just blown away. But the reason we were able to afford the mansion was because nobody goes and lives there because it's in the middle of nowhere. And therefore, anytime, even when I had another baby, which I did, the hospital was 2 hours away in Hereford. And Cardiff was 2 hours away. If you wanted an airport, it was 2 hours away. And if you were in traffic or behind a tractor, it was further. So I probably didn't make the right decision, but I didn't get home very often. So I integrated a lot of the companies for Homestad, as they called it. and I became very exhausted. I left on a Monday morning. I drove all around the United Kingdom, or all around GB, I should say, and I did have an office in Belfast as well that I got to now and again. And I'd go home on a Thursday night. I work from home on a Friday, and I'd sleep all weekend. And I don't know if anyone else has a job like that where you're travelling all the time. It's a huge job, and you don't realise until you look back and you go, wow, that was crazy. And I didn't really have a life. And my husband, wonderful, gave up his career to look after our children, and thank God he did, because they had a wonderful childhood, right? Yeah. Well, you were better with your father than with me, I have to say. He's much more patient. So after a while, I did a bit of that, and then the company said, we'd like you to come to Amsterdam. Wow, love to. Again, didn't really think it through. Just thought Amsterdam, Anne Frank, cafes. Went to Amsterdam. And that was interesting. As I sat in the office with all these Dutch people, and there was a huge building in a place called Diemen, and Frits Goldschmeding, I think he's the richest man in Holland, had built this company in the 1960s, started with a couple of typists on a bicycle. That's how it started. And I sat there, and at 5 o'clock, they all just got up and left. I'm looking around thinking, well, they obviously don't work very hard here, do they? I mean, this is a joke, and here I am sitting here, and I'm an international account director, and you'll think I don't notice. I notice they're all walking out the door at 5 o'clock. And I said to my boss, Fred, big Dutch guy, runs lots of marathons, said, Tina, healthy body, healthy brain. I thought, oh God, better hide on a meeting, everything else. And I said to him, they all leave at like 5 o'clock on the dot. Yes, that's what we do. Why? Because if you don't leave on time, we think you're unsuccessful. You're sitting here every night to 7 o'clock. You clearly can't get your work done, and you clearly don't have a home life. We think it's very important that you put the time into your home life. And I thought, wow, how I've got that wrong all these years. The Europeans really understand that a good balance of home life and work life is really healthy and really what you need. So it taught me a really invaluable lesson. After a while, Amsterdam was great, but after a while, it was a type of job where I was meeting people in Paris, I was meeting people in Lyon, we were doing deals of 200, 300 million, we were drinking champagne, we were having loads of nice meals. There was the people from Manpower, the people from Adecco, and me, the person from Randstad. The three biggest companies, recruitment companies in the world. And really, was it competitive? We were the only ones that could do most of the countries. So we kind of laughed at ourselves, because I come out and I go, won that one, we're second there, and Manpower would go, we're first, and Adecco would go, won that one, we're third. So we were the most successful people in the company. We always won, because there wasn't any other companies that could actually service these customers across the world. So it was an easy job, it wasn't a very challenging job. I missed my kids, and I missed home. So I came back, and the company asked me, would I just settle a health and social care company that they bought, needed settled. I did that for 2 years, settled it, got it on the straight and narrow, and I said, my daughter's 10, I'm going home. I've been here for 11 years, I've done enough. And my mummy said, are you leaving your big job? And I said, I'm coming home. I met a recruit. I came back to Belfast, didn't have a job, rented a house in Malone, put the kids into a lovely school, not the school I went to, but equally as good as my school, equally as good. And I thought, what am I going to do now? Because for a person whose brain works the way mine does, you can't really go get your hair done, go to the gym and clean your car that often, right? I lost 4 stone because I went to the gym 3 times a week. Put it all back on again, I have to say. Went to the gym 3 times a week. I was able to control what I was eating, and I was just having what maybe normal people have, which is maybe a bit of a normal life, I don't know. And it was all about me. Well, that was okay for 6 months. And I saw a recruit, Kim Johnson, and she said, you're mad, you shouldn't have come home. And I said, oh my God, why not? Belfast, this is where it's all happening, Northern Ireland. Well, the flag protests kicked off. And my husband said, seriously, what are we doing back here? And I said, oh God, it's great quality of life for kids. So, which I genuinely believe. So we came back. You can't see it on here, but the Irish market is worth 3 billion. This is the type of solutions. I'm not going to go through it with you, but we started with temporary work up here. Recruitment companies do a lot of things. RPO is recruitment process outsourcing. It's when you do everything for a company. So I signed a deal with Barclays about 7-8 years ago, which did all the recruitment. To get the deal, I actually went one morning at 7:30 to the Starbucks underneath the big building. There's HSBC and Barclays. Patrick's smiling. I probably told you that story. Yeah, I told you the other day. And I sat and waited because I knew the guy I needed to talk to wasn't taking my calls. Went into that Starbucks and got a coffee. Eventually, it was one of the biggest deals that Randstad UK's ever signed, and I'm really, really proud of it. Okay, there was more than just the coffee to it, but that's where I got him. He wasn't getting away. So RPO is an exciting model for us recruiters. There's permanent. I think we find so far we're finding thousands of people every. Is it 5,000 so far in Grafton? We find a year permanent placements. Master vendor is what we do when you've got lots of temporary bookings. They want to go out to lots of agencies, but it's easier for a company just to go to one agency to book it all and work it all and sort it all out. MSP is with technology. So if you're interested in learning more about the recruitment industry, give me a shout. I could talk all day about it, but I won't. This is the Scottish Provident building. So whenever they said, what are you doing back here? You're never going to get a job. I also said to Kim, the recruiter, I said, what else are you passionate about? And I said, besides recruitment, like the University of Ulster, politics. Why don't you go and stand for Sinn Féin? It's not really my politics. And she said, okay, well, I think you should go back to London. Oh no, Kim, I'm not going to go back to London. So I met with guys from the Human Capital Group. And I suppose some people know about Dragon's Den and what's his name? James Caan. Thank you, Isabel. So I met with James Caan's team and they said, well, we haven't really invested heavily. They've done a small investment into Northern Ireland and they offered me £500,000. And it was, I think, 3 weeks before Christmas and I phoned Stuart, I phoned Lisa, I phoned a few other people and said, do you want to come, Caroline? Do you want to come and work for me? Oh yes, definitely. Some of them even resigned from their jobs. People that had worked with me for years. And I sat on the conference call and the guys with Human Capital were all sitting in the Dorchester Hotel having their Christmas breakfast, having a lovely time. All men. On the teleconference with me, on my mobile, sitting in my front room. And when you get a feeling about something, I think in business you start to learn to listen to your gut. And my gut told me, this isn't right for you. So I told them, I don't want the deal. What do you mean you don't want the deal? Who else do you think is going to invest in Northern Ireland? Have you seen what's going on over there? Yes, I live here actually. I don't want the deal. I hung up the phone and I thought, right, some people have just committed to me and I don't know how I'm going to tell them that it's all off. But I'm going to call somebody I know in the industry. So I called a lady I know, Diane, and I said, Diane, what's going on with that franchise business that Randstad sold to Staffline? Oh, Tina, yes, you interested? I think I might want it and I want to take that franchise business called Select across the island of Ireland. Look, get on a plane and come and see me. Or do you want me to come and see you? No, I'm coming to see you. And I will always be the person to go and see them. I'll come to Dublin. I'll come to London. I'll fly to you. I think that's important. Showing the willing, whether you end up wanting it or not. She said, meet me at this hotel. The hotel belonged to a man called Andy Hogarth, who sat and said, Diane was delighted to get the franchise business sold to me in Ireland. That was her, she was running that part. And he said, no, you're not going to do our franchise business. You're going to start Staffline in Ireland. And I said, excuse me, I've worked internationally. I've been part of multi-billion-pound companies. Do you think that I'm going to go back to Belfast again and start all over again? I don't think so. By the time I got home, he convinced me. And I said, okay. So, behind the number 3 was an office in Belfast. It cost me £400 a month. And I brought Lisa, and I brought Stuart. God help them. It was like faulty towers. Tomorrow I'll be on site doing this. Now I'm the administrator. Now I'm the payroll person. And I actually, did I tell you I worked internationally and I've been very senior? So I took a separate office to be separate from the team. And my office was overlooking the bins of the apartment bar. Which was, I really negotiated well with them. I got it for like £200. I said, who else will take this office? You can't swing a cat. And look at those bins and all the noise from the apartment. Okay, Gina, just shut up and take it. It's fine. So that's what started our journey with Staffline. I also negotiated a really good deal. I'm probably the only person, it's on video, but probably one of the only people who in Staffline was able to negotiate a deal that I got in a PLC, a percentage of all the profits. Bearing in mind, I probably thought I'd never make any money, but I ended up making quite a bit of money. So, Two Sisters Food Group was one of our first customers. When you're starting a business from scratch, it is the hardest thing, especially when you come from a huge business that has expense accounts and lots of staff working for you and PAs working for you. And I was there with my two trusted assistants. And we thought, right, we need a customer. So I travelled down to a place called Nace, never been there before, into this big pizza factory. Never been to a pizza factory before. Well, the HR director said, you're from Staffline, you just need to pack your bag and get out of here. We'll not be using you. Why not? Because Staffline are rubbish, and if you had any sense, you get a new job. Oh my God. So, red rag to a bull. I had a guy with me who just started, never worked. I don't know if Tony Hawkins is here today, but he'd never worked in recruitment, and we came out of the meeting and he said, is it always like that? I said, I've never had that in my life. They practically threw me out. And I said, look, as a treat, we'll drive up and we'll go to Castle Leslie, which is where I got married, and we'll have a drink to steady our nerves. He was delighted to get to Castle Leslie, so that was our treat on the way home, whilst I sat and thought about how am I going to handle this now. I went back again, and again, and I think John Gorman, the HR director, was starting to have a bit of fun with me. And he said, okay, I'll give you a chance. Show up and do the services for Longford. I didn't know where Longford is, in the middle of Ireland. It's one big long street, and there's a pizza factory there too. Sure, no problem. So I hired my next person, and I think you might have been down there too, and my next consultant went in and said, we're here to do the implementation, to look after all your staffing needs, and they said, before you get started, you need to do a test on food and hygiene and health and safety. She called me and went, oh my God, I don't know anything about food and hygiene and health and safety. And they asked me, I said, you better pass that test. If you don't pass that test, we are in so much trouble. And not only that, we had no business. And we were in business for 2 months. We had nothing. Lisa and I went for a coffee to the Culloden Hotel. And I don't know if you remember this. I remember these moments so well. And we come out, and Steve Morrow, a guy who runs Teleperformance in Northern Ireland, who we'd serviced for years before in a previous business, rang me and said, I'm desperate. We can't get contact centre staff. We've done the Bangor market, even Newry, we really need contact centre staff. And I said, thank God, thank you God, we'll get to them, we will get to them. So we dressed Stuart Hunter up. Can you stand? Give everybody a wave. What did we dress you up as? In Newry, outside. So you were once a chicken at Easter, and you was going around the shopping centre, the Keys in Newry, as a chicken. Well, you couldn't walk past the chicken. And we also sent him to the Coach in Banbridge, you know, the Coach. Well, I thought, well, that's where all the young people are, and they all need part-time contact centre jobs. So we got some business, and we got into Longford, and we were supplying the staff for the pizzas. And he said, if you do really well, I think he was starting to like, it was like a little mouse, he was kicking me around the room. If you do really well, I might let you into Nace. Oh, wonderful. So we did, and we ended up taking over Nace, and these other two contact centres gave us business as well. And interesting about contact centres is, agencies struggle to find staff for contact centres. If you're starting a new business, and you think you're going to go in at this level, I've never seen it. I'm always going into new businesses, taking everything that no one else can be bothered to do. And it's always stood me in good stead. And in fact, the people that I've then serviced have been very loyal to me. So that was our first year. It was hard going, and we lost £220,000. I'd never lost money in a business in my life, so it was a good lesson. It was good to feel that pain, and good to feel that shame. Because I was always quite confident, not arrogant, but definitely confident person, going to Christmas meetings and doing the annual reports and sitting with my colleagues and being competitive and going, yeah, number one, you know, we did most numbers, we did this. This was a bit of a kick in the teeth and a kick in the gut. And it was really hard because I would go home at night and I would think, I'd say to these guys, it's all great, you don't know, we're going to do 100 million one day, blah, blah, blah. And I go home and I think, crap. What am I going to do? What are we going to do? We need to make this work. And it's so hard. And I called companies up and I'd worked in Northern Ireland for years before that, but I'd left for 7 years. And I call up and I say, oh, it's Tina from staff. Who? And I do that thing where you contact people on LinkedIn that constantly happens to me now. Hi, it's Tina. Ignored me. It's interesting. You can go on your LinkedIn today and you can see all the people you tried to connect with over the years who never, ever connected with you. I love that. I love that. It's just like, I'm like, really, right, Love it. And so, people did not want to know. I didn't have any money to sponsor anything. I didn't even have any money to join an organisation, but I did join Women in Business. And I went to an event in Newry in Women in Business, and I have to say, my view of women and men and the gender inequality and all of that, I've got a view that, women don't have certain qualities and men have different qualities. We're all as individuals have a mix of qualities, and women can be as aggressive as men and vice versa. We all have a mixture depending on the person we are and experiences we've had. But I did get something special, and I don't know what it was, from attending the Women in Business meeting. And maybe it was because there was all other women there who are having as hard a time as me, starting up little businesses. And I had to just keep my big mouth shut because I was dying to say, that's not a business, that's your hobby. Stop thinking that's a business, But I kind of stopped myself and got on. So, what happened next? So I lost £220,000. I knew that Grafton were everywhere, and I'd been after Grafton for years. In terms of competing, Kathy McCurry and I back in the day, and Ken's there looking, probably thinking, yeah. And I thought, I want Grafton Recruitment, and I want Diamond Recruitment as well. So I called Grafton Recruitment. They practically laughed down the phone and said, basically, who are you? And I called Diamond Recruitment, and I did a LinkedIn to Gary, just ignored me, didn't even say, who are you? So I kept selling. 2014 was a very interesting year. Remember we were in a little service office? Well, all our dreams came true. All of a sudden, we won a contract called Steps to Success. Well, I thought all our dreams came true. Bernie, you're somewhere here, yeah? It's a tough old contract. But we were able to put 1.25 million into this building in Derry. And guess what? It was our own building, but it was over 2 hours away from where I live, so I wasn't getting an office in it. And it was beautiful, and I ensured that we were spending the capex on this building, which Paul Quigley's still paying off the depreciation on. I ensured that everything, the pens, the pencils, the tables, the chairs, had to come from Northern Ireland. I was absolutely certain this business, and I think the landlord was absolutely delighted. So the building is absolutely stunning. Well, why would you? I received an email actually. The girl who said you should join Sinn Féin called me actually and said, I'm here to head. I said, hold on, don't headhunt me, I've got a job. I'm working for Staffline, don't you know? There's this new political party and these two guys really desperately want to see you. Typical recruiter. I don't even know if they said that to her. I certainly know John probably didn't. Basil just said, get me women and business women, quick. So I said, okay. Now interestingly, NI21 brought some very important people into my life. Ken, I don't know if you remember, but you sent me a poem. Ken Belshaw was the head of Grafton. That Grafton I'm trying to get a hold of. Our competitors are against each other. The guy took time out and actually sent me a poem. He was as passionate about something new for Northern Ireland that I was, and I thought, wow, Ken Belshaw sent me that poem. Other people came into my life through NI21. Kirsty, where are you? Kirsty came along to volunteer. Kirsty's now my PA, and I probably couldn't do what I do without her, and people probably know that around me, right? Yeah. It was one of the toughest times, because I was running the business, but if you're an entrepreneur like me, you better not put all your energy into an early business, because you're going to kill those people and kill that business. You better find something else to be driven about. So this was it for me. And the party decided, the executive decided that I would be the European candidate. I knew nothing about being a European candidate. I did get nearly 11,000 votes for transfers. It wasn't bad. We were early. We were too early. But we helped get Northern Ireland where it is today with the middle ground, I think. But don't tell Naomi. So we were just early to market, fresh politics and all that. Northern Ireland's ready for change. We don't care about green and orange politics. So as I walked the streets on my own, I would go from hustings to hustings. And hustings are where the MEP candidates all get together to debate. Martina Anderson was there, Diane Dodds was there, Jim Nicholson was there, Anna Lowe from Alliance. And I'd turn up and I'd say, what are we talking about? Oh, we're going to NICFA to talk about social inclusion. And I spent nights and hours reading about social inclusion. Now where are we going? Oh, we're going over to Amnesty and we're talking about humanitarian issues. And I spent hours reading about humanitarian issues. Because I wouldn't stand somewhere and do something that I didn't know anything about. I just wouldn't do it. But what I learned, and then I did the climate, even climate, I learned a bit about climate. And what I learned was, wow, they're stealing my lines. I was on the panel with these people. I thought, whoa, how dare they? And then someone said it's the highest form of flattery if they've stolen your lines. Right, great. So I got into my swing, but I still was on my own. And when you arrive somewhere and they've all got their big entourages, and I was there all alone. And this American girl come up and said, is Julia here? No? This American girl come up and said, I'm from America. I'm studying Northern Irish identity. And I said, good luck. I'm doing a PhD at Queen's. Would you like some help? You were involved in a debate that she runs a debate in Society of Queen's. And I'd really like to help you. And I said, well, thank God. Shall we go for a sneaky smoke? Which I did. She didn't. She held a coffee. And my nerves were shattered. And we were walking into this really important one. And Julia's a very, very clever girl. And she said, I'll help you. And she helped me with the notes. And she helped me do things. And she was wonderful. And as we sat outside the Mac, I'll never forget it. We sat outside the Mac and she said, I am going to have to leave Northern Ireland. And I said, why? And she said, because whoever is going to pay for a visa for me. And I said, well, one day if I could, I would. We'd no money. We'd just lost. Remember, we'd lost 220k? One day if I could, I would. So leave it with me. 3-4 weeks after the car crash that was NI-21, I called Julia and I said, Julia, I've got a job for you. Do you want to come and work in our office? Yeah, sure. And then she said, after about 3 weeks, oh, right, this is a temping agency. She'd be working there for 3 weeks. And I was so pleased that I was able to buy and pay thousands of pounds to get Julia her visa. And Julia worked with me for 5 years, 4 years, and now she's off in higher heights working at Deloitte, and I'm delighted for her. But it just shows you people and events come into your life and help you in your life, and I think it's always important to pay it back. I'm not going to say any more about NI-21. That chapter's over. So yeah, that's for another day. Or is it? You know? You never know. So People Plus. Well, People Plus, if you'd have told me, I've been in recruitment now a long time, and if you'd have told me that in Northern Ireland we had about 40,000 vacancies, if you'd have told me that the unemployed couldn't get jobs, I'd say, well, that's rubbish. We have 40,000 jobs across Northern Ireland. I run an agency. I know these things. I was so wrong, and People Plus taught me so much about those people who were coming from families that were long-term generationally unemployed, people that had self-esteem issues, people that had health issues. I learned about mental health issues. People Plus gave me more than I ever gave People Plus, and our teams ever gave People Plus, because it gave back to us day after day after day. And we had the biggest centre in the Northwest. We won the contract for the Northern region. We provide all the services to the unemployed from Mollusk right up the North Coast, right round to Derry and down to Strabane, the toughest to help areas. And I'm delighted today to say that since that contract started, we have put over 5,000 people into jobs from that contract. And we're good at putting people into jobs because we understand companies, jobs, and what people need. And that's taught me so much, and it's a wonderful company. And we're just, I guess, blessed to service those people. So we also won some other contracts. Henderson's. I don't know if anybody else, if any recruiter in Northern Ireland will tell you, getting into Henderson's is tough. We called and called and called for years. Finally, that year, we got into Henderson's. And who had to do it? Him. Our one trusted advisor. Hey, it was like one of our consultants. And he went in. We finally made a profit. So here we were in 2014 and we made £450,000 profit and we did a turnover of 5 million and we had 50 staff. Now we didn't have them the whole year. The biggest chunk of those staff came when we started doing steps to success and helping the unemployed. And most of that money came from our recruitment business actually. I called Grafton again. And these guys in Dublin, it was very hard. And I said to Ken, who am I going to call? Call Ghostbusters. So, and I called Grafton. These big VC guys in Dublin. Oh, who are you? Finally, they gave me a meeting. And I brought my boss, who's a lovely, gentleman, Andy Hogarth. And I said, we're going to Dublin. I'll meet you down in Dublin. We'll get a hotel. And then the next day we're going to meet Grafton. This is it. Taking over Ireland recruitment. So he blew in and that was all fine and dandy. And Andy always said, Tina, and he's done about 20 acquisitions. I like to do acquisitions with people I like. So I'm praying to God, I hope he likes them. Oh my God, I hope he likes them. And he says, so you know, if the chemistry's not there, I'm not buying it. The chemistry wasn't there. The guys in Dublin were looking at him and he was looking at them, and he's a very softly spoken man who lives in Solihull. And these VCs in Dublin were like, rah! What do you want? How much are you prepared to pay? Rah! And Andy said, well, we did a deal only a couple of months ago where, and you might listen to this, so I have to be careful. I said, we did a deal a couple of months ago where, you know, it was and I think it was something like a £20 million turnover company. And I'm there going, are you kidding me? We just bought a company. Why didn't you give the example? We just bought a 600 million. Why aren't you giving the big examples? But he's just cool. He didn't care. Yeah, this company. And I'm looking at him. I said, well, actually, and he told me, don't you be overselling. Don't oversell. And I'm like, well, actually, we just bought, didn't you hear that we just bought A4E and we just bought this and bought that? And he just looked as if to go, here we go. The chemistry wasn't there. And as we left the room, I knew the chemistry wasn't there. And I thought, well. So the next meeting was with Diamond Recruitment, and the chemistry was there. It might have helped that Andy's shirt pocket, he always said he didn't do it on purpose, he had the Grafton card showing out of his pocket. And Gary said, where have you been? Oh, at a meeting. Yeah, with Grafton. Oh, yeah, oh. So we bought Diamond Recruitment, and what a lovely company. White collar, you know, had the Moy Park contract in Northern Ireland, had been around, I'd been competing with them in my Randstad days. I was delighted. There was Eunice, there was Donna, there was Grace, who used to work for me. Such a wonderful team. And it was a big deal. I think they were turning over 36 million. I wasn't even turning over anywhere near that. But we did the deal. We got it. I learnt a lot about acquiring and integrating with Diamond Recruitment. The same year, it was a bloody good year. We applied for 2 contracts, the B project and the Northern Ireland Prison Service. And you see these notes, I haven't even looked at them. My PA is going to kill me, I'm just going to leave them there for a minute, sorry about that. The B project, and this is where you can help me with some numbers, anybody that's in the company. We worked across 17 schools. You've heard of the Social Investment Fund. Yeah, and we've heard lots of bad news about the Social Investment Fund. Well, I actually think the Social Investment Fund, the B project that we run, was amazing. It was specifically targeted at children that were 14, 15, 16, who came from areas of social deprivation, who potentially were in families of long-term generational unemployed, and who were the highest target of people, as young people, to become unemployed. But if we could catch them in 4th and 5th year and discuss what it is to go for a job, to discuss the world of work, to discuss in their areas what jobs are actually out there, to explain to them that there's no such thing as a bad job, that all jobs are starter jobs, and that you can move on and move up, and it's worth it. We also worked with their families and the grandparents. In some instances, the parents weren't involved, but it was the grandparents who were bringing up the children. And that was very important, to get the grandparents in, to explain to the grandparents the world of work. What does it mean? What's going on out there today? Why is it important that this child, if they're not going on to university or college, gets into a job at a decent time so that they don't slip through the net? Because we know that if there's a few months, even 6 months, those children can become depressed, those children can become targeted, those children are in trouble if they're not in a job within a year, usually, if they don't have a secure foundation around them. That was a wonderful project. It achieved So many things, and it's all, if you ever want to go and have a look at the schools that helped, the children that helped, it was an amazing project. And I'm really proud to say it was a £2.2 million project in the Northwest, and we partnered with a smaller Northern Irish business and gave them half. Judith Cochrane's there, Judith ran it, isn't that right, Judith? And we gave out to local communities more than half of the revenue for community groups. We gifted computer suites. We did so much for those communities. It was a brilliant, and it was very good of the Northern Ireland Executive to support that. Even though I know there's been a lot of negativity around Social Investment Fund, that to me was a brilliant project. And we could do what we wanted. It wasn't listed that you must do this, that and the other. I'll give you one example. A lot of the children had relationships that were broken down with either parents or grandparents. So we ran a course, and it was a clay modelling course. Anybody remember Lionel Richie doing the head? It was a bit like that. And interestingly, they were coming in, it was all a bit of crack, and that's a laugh, and oh, look at your face versus your face. And what we were really doing was getting them to look each other in the eye. Some of these children, young people, had not looked their parents or grandparents in the eye in a long time. So whilst they thought they were having fun with clay, and I'm doing your face, you're doing mine, they were building a connection again. And the simple things like that that just really help those relationships. The Northern Ireland Prison Service, the contract came up to run the visitor centres, and I thought, well, why not us? Niacro did it along with Barnardo's, and no, not Barnardo's, Quakers, and they'd always done it for 40 years. And maybe you don't want to go and apply for it because those people worked hard over 40 years of the troubles. Who am I in a private company to be coming in to provide that service? Yeah, we heard that a lot. And I thought, well, who am I? I'm already working with all of these groups of people, and I think that those children that are going to visit those relatives could really do with some services, because they're also some of the hardest to help people. And there was a lot of mums and a lot of women that could do with some support as well. So we applied for that contract, and in November of that year, we won it all. We won all those contracts, and it was amazing. It was amazing for the team. Just finally, Keelings. I talked about Tony Hawkins, whose uncle is here tonight. Tony Hawkins had never been in recruitment. He worked in Bass for 20 years. And I met him at a party, and he said, I was just made redundant. I'm 50 or 52. Who the hell's going to hire me? And I thought, would you come work for us? Like, it's not brilliant money or anything, and it's a small team, and everybody has to do a wee bit of everything. Tony came in to sell. He'd never done recruitment in his life, but he was brilliant on the phone. He could talk to anybody. He'd been in pubs all his life selling beer. What's different about talking to people and selling recruitment, right? And he came back to the office one day and he said, Tina, I saw this thing called Keelings on a big truck. There seems to be loads of those trucks going up and down the motorway. We didn't know who Keelings were. Keelings are the largest supplier of fruit and veg in the Republic of Ireland. Give them a call, Tony. It's not surprising that 12 months later we won Keelings, one of the biggest contracts in the Republic of Ireland. But it's interesting, he saw it on a truck. So we won our first award. As a company, we won the fastest growing company, and that was before the revenues of Diamond Recruitment hit. And we were so proud, and it was a brilliant night for the whole team. We did 20 million and made a profit of 1.5. 2016. Not everything I do is smart, and definitely I have lots and lots of failures. So I decided that with all this good work we do for people that are unemployed, people that are economically inactive, we can do more. And so I got a call to say that this little company, Paragon, that the owner wanted an exit. They had an office on the Falls Road and an office on the Newton Ards Road. And all of my contracts, remember, were from Mollusk, right round the Strabane, and I'm a Belfast girl. So I was tempted to go in and say, hey, we can do that, and I want to help everybody in Belfast, so we'll pick it up. So I picked it up. It was running a contract called Training for Success, which still runs today, and apprenticeships. And then I got a call from Hugh J. O'Boy. Well, they're exiting the market in terms of training in Downpatrick. And I thought, well, it all goes well together, doesn't it? I learned really quickly that unless, number one, you've been doing that for years, and a lot of people in Northern Ireland have, to their credit, and number two, unless you've got a multitude of contracts to help those children, those contracts are not set up in any sort of commercial viable way. And I spoke to the department. Training for Success judges these children on coming out of school, which usually failed them, and putting them back in a classroom to get more qualifications, and your funding is based on their qualifications. So some of the behaviours that are being pushed to get these children through qualifications, and these children, a lot of them had social workers, a lot of them had lots of issues and problems, some of them didn't, but a lot of them did. And I didn't think what we had was fit for purpose for them. I also thought you needed a multitude of programmes, and we're always talking about competitors, and Bernie's here, and I called Bernie and I said, Bernie, your name's a bit like ours, we're people plus, you're people first. But I knew she did a damn good job, and I called her and I said, I made a mistake here. This isn't our area of expertise. I've won the contracts for both of these right across Northern Ireland. This isn't for us. We know what we're good at. You do this brilliantly. And we were able to pass a lot of the business over. And thank you, Bernie, for that, especially for those kids and those families. It helped us move on. Dale Farm is one of those companies I've been trying to get into back for years and years and years. Finally, I remember, following Mr. Dobbin and running behind him when he was getting a coffee on some of these network events and everything else. Finally, we got it. They're like a stalker. Danske Bank, we were providing all the staff through Diamond to Danske Bank, and we were getting a really good mix of customers. Things were going really well. 56 million, 2.5 million profit. I was beating my colleagues in terms of percentage over budget. Their numbers were way bigger. By this stage, the colleagues in England, they were hundreds and hundreds of millions. It wasn't enough. We needed to do something else. So who did I call? Grafton. I called 15 other companies as well, and I met with most of them. Interesting days in a hotel at Dublin Airport. Oh, we want 15 times our EBITDA for our company. Are you kidding me? Nobody pays 15 times. And with the state of that, I'd maybe give you 3, but even then I'm not sure I want it. No! I saw lots of companies, and I probably, to be honest, seen most companies, visited and talked to the owners of the companies that aren't big PLCs. I probably met with them all, which was very interesting because I was able to have a look at their numbers, have a look at what they do, have a look at what was brilliant about what they do, talk to some of their people. It was very interesting, very educational. And, sometimes you just got to be humble with this. And they just think, she's coming along and she wants us and we're not sure we want her and all of that. I was still interested in Grafton. Grafton was by far #1 in Northern Ireland. And I remembered Grafton in those days when it was built and it was the biggest name. And I wanted so much to make the biggest company in Ireland, and I needed that acquisition to do it. But I still needed, they wouldn't give me the money in England unless I was showing amazing profits in Ireland. So I was just working so hard to show the profits, as were the team. So whilst I was waiting on Grafton, I met Shane. Good looking guy, right? I thought so. Anyway, it always helps to be if you get on well. We get on well. Shane was very, very charismatic. Shane had run Oak Recruitment in the Republic of Ireland. He had an office in Dublin, an office in Cork. And he was at the stage of his business where he'd grown it to about 8 million. And him and I got in a room and we talked strategy and markets and everything else. And Shane said, I think I'm ready to sell. I think I'm ready to sell. And I said, right. Well, you are, but let me teach you how you sell a company. Most people that I spoke to about selling companies had never sold a company. They didn't know what the process was. They didn't know how you multiply things. And I said, Shane, I will be fair with you. I'll talk you through the process. We won't take advantage of the fact that you don't know this. But what I want from you is, I need a managing director who's from the south, in the south, for my business. My business was getting big enough then. Absolutely, definitely. So we did a deal. And interestingly, about this deal, his solicitor was crazy and he was in Cork. So Isabel and I, Isabel's our HR at the time, now learning and development, organisational development, Isabel and I went to Cork. Not glamorous. And when solicitors don't know how a process of acquisition works, oh my good God, it makes it 100 times tougher than it should be. We were there all night. We didn't get any food, and remember, I'd started to make some money, so guess where I booked Isabel and I to stay? The K Club in Dublin. We weren't staying at the Premier Inn, or Days Inn, or wherever. We were going to the K Club, and I said, Isabel, come with me, we'll be away for about 2 days, but we're staying at the K Club, we'll get a lovely meal, we'll walk around those gardens, we'll even get a massage, and there's a pool. Okay, she had to come the whole way from Derry. Okay, Tina, okay. So there we were in Cork with this guy who didn't know what he was doing, and we were there for hours and hours, no food, everything else. We got back to the K Club at about 4 in the morning after having closed the deal. It was one of the toughest deals I've ever had to close. And Shane just kept saying, it's not my fault, he doesn't know what he's doing, but I just have to listen to my solicitor. And I said, Shane, your solicitor's going to blow the deal. Trust me, he nearly did. We got to the K Club, we took one drink of whiskey each, went to bed and had to leave the next morning at 6 because I was speaking at Drenner House at Women in Business with two interesting entrepreneurs, Leah Totten, you know the girl who won the Apprentice, and another girl called Petra Wetzel, who has grown the most amazing brewery business across Scotland. And I was talking to them and they were talking about, you know, the presentations, and I had quite a sexy presentation too. And I looked down at the room of all of these women expectantly looking up, and I thought about when I started back in business here in Belfast, only 3-4 years before, how hard it was. And so I got on the lectern, and I ripped up my speech as usual, which I tend to do quite a lot. And I said, and this little voice thing might just fall out of my dress in a minute, Karen. No, don't worry, it's fine, I'll let you know if it does. I got up on the lectern and I said, girls, ladies, I'm just going to tell you the truth about what my year's been like. It's been hell, both personally and professionally. I haven't had much sleep. We've been down doing a deal. Didn't get to experience the K Club, never mind anything else. But if you think for 1 second this looks glamorous and that we've got it easy and it's plenty of money and success looks like this, well, I can tell you now it doesn't. And I started to open up and tell them about the summer I'd had, about the deaths in our family, about the illnesses, about what had been happening personally, about also what had been happening professionally and the hard work. The mood of the room just lifted. And the women were just, oh, it was just amazing. And Petra looked at me and said, oh, I'm going to have to do the same thing, Tina. She ripped up her speech and told them about her 2 failed marriages. And it was fascinating because actually, it was the best women in business thing ever. And the reason it was fascinating was because Petra told how she was sitting there and she had a choice when her husband left, either save the business or lose your home. She saved her business and went into rented accommodation and lost her home. And she told how the next time it happened to her, what happened then. And this lady is beautiful, smart, trained lawyer, wonderful. And this had happened to her twice. She also told about, actually, I'll quickly stick in, she's from Germany or somewhere. She also told that she fell in love with a prince in Germany, but she wasn't of the right aristocratic connections, and that never worked out either. Bad luck on that front. But what an amazing businesswoman. And Leah Totten then stood up, you know Leah Totten? And she said, well, I'm just going to tell you what's just happened to me. And I, here we go. And she said, as she was opening her new big salon and new big shop in the middle of London, that how the dentist next door had done the dirt, and 2 days before, copied all of her ideas, and was all nice to her for months, and friendly and everything else, opened up 2 days before her, and she'd been working on this for months, copied everything. So we all had it, and then she had said, actually, they said I was a bit late. I missed the flight because I was out last night. And women just opened up and were honest, right? We were all just honest, and the women in the room, I think, just appreciated that we're all human, we're all honest, and we all have a tough time. Shane's no longer with me. I don't know if it was me, personally, or whether it was how hard we have to work, but he loves motorbikes, and the last I heard, he's doing courier on a motorbike. So if you see a motorbike planned down with a good-looking guy, that's probably Shane. We won Amazon in Cork. Amazon's a brilliant customer, so if you lose your parcel and you call Amazon, you're calling us. That was an amazing win. We also won the Ulster Bank, and we finally, after, you imagine, years and years of calling Rightbus, finally, they said we need welders. How easy is it to get welders in Northern Ireland? We'll find them. We'll get you the welders, and we got into Rightbus. And I'm glad today, well done Paul Doherty who's in the room, that we now are the full supplier to Rightbus on all their temporary and permanent needs. So well done, Paul. Because once we're in, you aren't getting rid of us. So we did 66 million and 3.5 million. Who did I call? So, interestingly, I didn't. I went and had a coffee with a wee man called Dermot Byrne. Very interesting man. I'm having a coffee and Dermot's about in his 60s and he's telling me his daughter is having twins and he's about to become a granddad. He's worked in his recruitment agency M&B for years. He's a one-man band. He takes his phone everywhere. His wife never gets a break. He's tired. He's supplying all of Tato. And I thought, I'm supplying Tato in Northern Ireland. This was Tato right next door to the Tato Park, which I thought, oh, will I get the Tato Park as well? Because that could be interesting. And no, it was just the Tato factory. And Dermot and I said, Dermot, what is it you want? And he said, I want to leave my business with somebody who'll look after it. I want to have a little bit of money. And I want to be able to still be involved because I don't just want to do nothing. And I said, Dermot, I'm your girl. Let's make it happen. And we did. So we acquired M&B, a very tiny agency, but it was right for Dermot and it was right for us. And today we supply all of Tato crisps. So we acquired Grafton. And what happened in Grafton was very interesting because one must always spot one's opportunities. So the girl who worked for me back, my 5th employee, by this stage, was the operations director of Grafton. Didn't annoy me at all. And I heard through the grapevine that she, Claire, and 2 other people had tried an MBO. Really? They tried an MBO? They tried an MBO. Didn't go very well, did it, Ken? Nope. And the person who was in charge at the time was very annoyed. Very, very annoyed. And decided they would all part ways. Well, if you lose your MD and your operations director and you're a VC type of guy, recruitment's not that easy. Some stage you're going to crack. You're going to blow. And I waited. And I thought, 3 months, you'll be cracking at 3 months because you'll be getting the phone. Yeah, this client's cracking up, this client hasn't paid, or these people aren't servicing, or I'm not getting my people. So give him the pain. Stop, don't call. Finally, I picked up the phone. How's it going now? Who are you? It's me, Tina McKenzie. Right. Are you interested? Oh, I wouldn't be selling. Sure, Brexit, the worst time to sell. Oh, I'm not asking you about selling. You want to grab a coffee? Sure. We did the deal over the coffee. Practically. And Grafton was the final piece in the jigsaw of what's there today. And there are 100,000 other stories about the people that work in the company and how far they've went, how hard they've worked. There's also the stories about the talent. I sat on the Human Rights Commission and I met this girl over here. Wave. Hi. And I looked at her and I listened to her and she was the procurement for Tesco. Is that right? Auditor? Didn't even know what your job was. See that, Kerry? I just looked at you and I thought, she's talent. Never felt her somewhere, but you can't hold it against her. But that girl is talent. I'm going to have her. And I bugged her, and eventually I got her to come work for us. And then this girl here, Caroline Feeney, who won't want me saying her name. Caroline was in politics and was working for a well-known political leader. Is that better? And Caroline asked me for a meeting. And by this time I had money. By the way, people wanted meetings with me. I had money to spend. I could do investments, marketing, and we went to, it was Harlem. It was Harlem. And I went into Harlem to see her and I thought, what's this about? Her and her old boss. What now? Well, we're running the Goliath Trust and it's all about helping children in primary schools. And as I listened to her boss was chipping in, but as I looked at her and listened to her, I thought, she's talent. Chip, bang. And we got her. And that's how the talent in our company, Paul Quigley is a good example of it. Most people, Paul Doherty, most of the people, if I come across talent, I'm going to try and hire you. I'm going to try and get you. And I don't even know what job you're going to do for me. But if you're talent and you're hardworking, then you're going to add value. I don't know how or where or when or what, but you will add value and you will be right for our company. So we got Grafton and it was the jigsaw completed in one corner. 110 million, not bad kids, in 4 or 5 years. I said I'd hit 100, 4.7 million and 250 staff, 10 branches across the island of Ireland. And a marketing budget that people just didn't want to let me go. Where's Niamh McElhatton? Who's now our sales and marketing director, who was bugging me to sponsor her Danny Awards. And I thought, talent. We'll be having her. And we did. So, this is what we do today. This is this year. This year we'll do around 170 million turnover. Around £6 million profit. But more importantly than those numbers are those numbers, that we will put out 10 million hours of labour to help companies across this island and to give people flexible contracts. We will also service of over 1,000 clients, 8,000 daily workers, and we'll put thousands of people into the permanent jobs that they've always wanted. And we'll help them every step of the way. That was our first Christmas party. That was my sister, the blonde. She's not here, is she? That knows. All the blondes over there are my sisters. I don't know what happened to me. I got all the brains. Clearly not. I got the charm. And so I had a sister even helping me. The girl in the glasses was the girl I told you left and went to work for Grafton, which helped me in the end. And the man in the middle was my boss. Lisa and Stuart are here in the front. They're still in the company today. This is our Christmas party this year. And I didn't have it at Christmas. I had it at the end of January because guess what? You can get double for your money in January. So that was our Christmas party this year. We took over Lusty Beg Island. The prize in my first year was a bottle of champagne. The prize this year was fully expensed 25 people to go to New York. And they cried. So did I when I got the bill. That's our company today, and they're the people that have done all the work, and they're the ones that have made it all happen. And ultimately, if we're not having fun, we're not going to be successful. That's the most important part of this company. It's the journey, not the destination. It's the stories, not the numbers. And they're the things, I think, that grow a company and make success happen. And who do you think I called recently? That's where we're going, by the way. We'll get to 10 million profit by 2023. 10 million in 10 years. That's my new goal. Who did I call? Who am I calling these days? Very good. I would love to tell you, but I'm sick. But I can tell you this. When you read about it in the newspapers, you will remember that you may have known about it first. And trust me, it's big news. Thank you. It wasn't ours, sorry. Very hot.
Okay, folks, I'm not sure what you can really ask.
Oh, have I told you everything?
So we've got time for some questions. So does anyone want to if you could wait until the microphone comes to you, and then maybe give your name, stand up, say where you're from, that'd be great. So anyone want to kick off?
Of course, the commentator's corner.
Has to be, Gina. Thank you very much. That was entertaining, lively and informative. And I suppose what I'd like to ask you is, what one piece of advice would you give to our graduates embarking on their journey? And this wasn't a setup, so she is actually thinking about it.
I am. No, but not that clever. I'd say you get nothing without hard work. That's it. If you think you're going to do anything without putting the hours in, forget it. I've never seen it. No matter what talent you've got, no matter how smart you are, if you don't work harder than the next man, which, by the way, isn't that difficult to do? Because I find most people give up really easily if it becomes too difficult. So if you're the one or two people that keep going, you get whatever you like, depending on what you want. So work hard.
Great answer.
Anyone else, folks? Yes, gentlemen, back.
Robert McConnell from Pinnacle. I really enjoyed that lecture, Tina. It's not like any lecture I remember from my time at Ulster University. I just wanted to ask, how do you balance your drive and enthusiasm and passion to succeed? How do you inspire your staff to feel like that without burning them out?
Good question. I think they watch me. A lot of the stuff I do for the business, nobody sees. I see Simon down the back, and Simon and I would have long conversations about where we're taking the business, what's the cash flow, what's our number, what are we going to do, and on Twitter and on social media, some of my staff will say to me, "Oh my God, you've been here, you're doing this for the FSB, you're in London with the Finnish embassy, I'm working on the enhanced economic zone with the British and Irish governments and the parties, and we're doing tons of stuff with cabinet ministers, all for Northern Ireland." And people say, "Well, how do you keep up, how do you do all of that?" And I'll say simply, especially if you're a woman, you have to have support around you. And I'll always say to the women, and there's some women here from my company, that I don't expect them to do what I do. That's my job. That's why I'm paid the big bucks. I have no expectation. They're not as crazy as I am anyway. So it's kind of some sort of high-functioning crazy thing when you're that driven and that ambitious and you can't switch it off. But what I'd say to them is get the balance right and do what's right for you. They aren't me. They're not as crazy as me. Lisa just had a baby. She had a year with a baby. I had 3 or 4 months with each of mine, and maybe I was wrong, maybe I don't know, but I think they all know. I'd like to think they all know. I've no expectations other than they give their best, and each of their best is different. Some people, and I think that's the problem sometimes with management and leadership, is that they want everybody to be all up here. I've got people, I'm not looking at you, Stuart, who are amazing at relationships, but ask them to fill in a form, you'd sack them. But I'm not sacking them because they're amazing at relationships. Don't stick somebody in a box. Don't go by the job description. Take their talents and their passion and make it work in the company in some shape or form. And you can usually do that. But I wouldn't expect any of them to be like me because they're all brilliant in their own way and they all add value in their own way. And you only need one captain of the ship because if you've got 2, we're going to be in trouble.
You, Tina.
Oh.
I'm sitting here thinking I'm glad I'm retired.
So am I.
but I really enjoyed your speech. But my question, Tina, is, I mean, for most of the last 30 years, business people couldn't put their head above the parapet in politics. You are one of the first breath of fresh air that I've seen in that regard. How can we encourage more people to be likewise?
And that's difficult because when I put my head above the parapet, it was blew up. I did get 11,000 votes. It's a difficult one because what happens in politics in Northern Ireland is no matter what we say, they want to stick us with a label. And business people don't want labels. We want to service and work with everyone and make everything better for everyone. And that's the challenge. I think the next generation of Northern Irish politics, especially with our young people, is going to be very different to what we grew up with. And I think you'll see many more people get involved. And I even think the situation right now across the United Kingdom, with the change in those plates and people saying, it doesn't always have to be this and this. There's a change in politics around the world happening. Some of it's bad, some of it's right-wing nationalism, extremism, and a lot of it's coming from the fact that people are feeling pain. Not that people are bad people, they're feeling pain and they need to act out and they need to vote to make sure that the traditional parties know that they're hurting. So I think that if someone said to me, do you want to go into politics, I'd just say, choose your party and choose the people you go in with well. But no matter what, it was my favourite mistake, Ken, and I met so many wonderful people, including you, and I would do it all over again if it meant that this place was going to be better.
Hi, Tina. George Alexander, AIB. It's been intriguing listening to the last 5-6 years, whatever that time frame has been. Indeed, beyond that, from your early days, what is your horizon? Where do you stop looking? You're looking forward to the next deal and so on. But, how far ahead can you go in your thinking before you say, I can't judge that anymore?
Yeah, and I don't think it's interesting because I used to think it was probably material, that maybe when you got a nicer car or maybe when you got a bigger house. And I used to look at some of the staff who seemed really happy and content, and they had a nice house and a decent car, and they were away doing a 9 to 5, and they weren't tortured by some of the ambition that I had. And sometimes it's an affliction and a torture. And just as you got around a horizon, like the Grafton horizon, but more about where we are today, you realise you're at the foot of a mountain. You've just seen another one. And I guess when I get round that corner, there's going to be something else. But maybe it's not going to be in business. Maybe it's the next challenge, and maybe it's someone else saying, you can't do this, and I say, I'm going to do that. So, and it's having the type of brain, and I think this is important for educators, is that having the type of brain that has to have lots and lots going on. My children will say when I'm home, and my sisters and my mother probably too, and my nieces, are you listening to me? I'm listening. I can do two things at once. No, you're thinking about something. I can see you're thinking about, and I'm not. And I am. And I think that's, if you've got that brain, you must feed that brain, and you must do lots of things. Otherwise, I don't know what could happen. And that's, you've got to go with whatever way you are in life. And I'm just lucky that I've been able to have the things and the people available to me to keep me engaged and do what I wanted to do. So God only knows, but I don't think it's ever going to stop, unfortunately.
Imagine.
Yeah, and I'll probably fall off the cliff a couple of times too, no doubt.
Any other questions? Time for one or two more. Lady.
Hiya, Nadine Campbell here. Tina, I'll stand up. I just wanted to say that I took great inspiration from your story, because as a person who kind of returned to Northern Ireland after many years working in England, I was actually probably one of the 11,000 that voted for you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Sorry to let you down, Nadine.
I know. I was actually probably one of the wee groups that went round like putting in leaflets and stuff on the doors. But I suppose in my day job now I work for Age and I, and we're obviously one of the looking at the older generation.
Sponsorship of me, Nadine?
I'm already chatting to Paula about that. So we talked there about, you mentioned there was 40,000 vacancies in Northern Ireland. And one of the areas that we're looking at is actually the older generation. Was it Ken, you said you've retired, but not everybody else is in a position where they're actually able to afford to retire, or they're looking at, different options. I'd just be interested to hear your view on, you touched upon flexibility, but what do you see in terms of the marketplace for older workers in today?
It's a brilliant point you make, because when we talk about talent pools, and especially now with the Brexit conversation, we are limited. With a lot of people going home to European countries, a lot of people are going south because the market's so good in the south. We've really got to look differently at how we manage our talent pools in Northern Ireland. One of them is women who are staying at home who might want to work part-time around the children. One of them is the economically inactive, all those people who just need a bit more social support. But the third one is the people who we believe in our society, because you're in your 60s, it's game over. Now, if you go to the States and you walk around any sort of supermarket or restaurant, they have a big respect for workers, irrespective of your age. And that was very clear to me. So I think we've got work to do. And I'm very happy, by the way, to help and support in that work, in order that we do look at those people, because it's brilliant for their mental health. They're great workers, they're skilled. They're not out getting drunk on the Sunday night before the Monday morning shift, usually. They are a great talent pool, and it's just culturally in our society we have expectations that you get to this age and you stop. And that's not good for people getting out and about, and with families disjointed. They need to be out and socialising and talking to people, especially even if it is a flexible contract or a part-time contract. We definitely need to encourage it. And guess what? Our businesses and FSB represent 6,000 people. It'd be remiss of me not to say it's the biggest business organisation in Northern Ireland. FSB would be very keen in supporting that, because all of the businesses need talent and need staff, and it's one of our skills, it's one of our biggest issues, the lack of skills in Northern Ireland, so we must do something about it. Are you looking for a job? Just kidding. But we'll organise a follow-up with Roger, actually. I think that's something we could talk about.
Thank you.
No problem.
I think there was a question. Final question.
Good.
No
Hot.
pressure.
No pressure, Connor.
Tina, that was a fantastic lecture presentation.
Before you speak, where did I meet Connor Houston? Are you going to tell? Okay.
I was going to say, you have inspired many people in this room, and I hope you can feel the warmth and goodwill flowing towards you tonight. I met you, Tina, five years ago for lunch.
You met me for lunch,
And,
by the Scottish Provident Building.
Beside the Scottish Provident Building in the Lindenhall Library. And it was a lunch I'll never forget, because you were the first person who challenged me that perhaps my career in law was not the one that I should be charting. I think you said something like, well, what do you want to be, like the Attorney General or something? And then added, or do you want to do something useful with your life?
And you're one of the people who inspired me to go on the journey that I've been on for the last number of years. And I know that this is a room full of people that you have inspired in that way. So I suppose just to say thank you for that.
Oh, thanks.
But also just to ask you, who inspires you, Tina?
Do you know, I often get asked about who's that, who's that? Is it a Richard Branson? I love Mo Mullen. Was it Mo Mullen? Is it all these people? And to be honest, what inspires me every day is those little glimpses of people going the extra mile, or people being kind to other people, or people doing something that is giving nothing to them, but it's just helping someone else. And there are lots of people and lots of situations. So I don't have this big person I'm inspired by, but I'm inspired every day by normal, regular people. Maybe the waitress saying something nice. Just normal people every day being kind to other people. That inspires me. Yeah, so it's not very sexy. Can I just say something?
You can, certainly, yeah.
Well, you know how we have money now? So we've had a little pub above the Harp Bar around the corner, because often when you get to a ledge on your journey, you don't ever look back and celebrate. And this is the first time probably with a room of people like this, so we thought, wow, well actually, didn't we do well? Because you don't often tell yourself that. And we've actually hired Brian Kennedy to sing for us. So you're all very welcome. My daughter said, who's Brian Kennedy? The guy who sang at George Best's funeral? No. So you're all invited, you're all good friends, and thank you for listening to me. And it's straight after this, and it's nibbles and drinks. Isn't that right, Caroline? Thank you all very much. Thank you.
I know that wasn't for me, right? But it was most welcome, nonetheless. My name's Eddie Friel. I'm the Director of Development and Alumni Relations here at the University. So I just want to say a few quick thank yous. I won't keep you from the Harp Bar, or Brian Kennedy, whoever he is. And, so first of all, I would like to thank my colleagues in the Development and Alumni Relations Office, Sandra and Roshan at the back, who have been involved in putting this together and working very closely with our colleagues in the Ulster Business School. So I'd like to thank them from the university point of view. I'd also like to thank the wider Grafton Recruitment team, who have been involved in pulling things together here this evening as well. Caroline in particular, I know, has been key to making sure this was a successful event. And I would like to, I found that a really wonderful event. I would like to thank Tina for her words, and there were a number of things that struck me as she spoke. You're quite prepared to admit your failures, which a lot of us don't. And one of the things that we as an alumni relations team regularly say to people, we try and encourage people to pay it back. You used those very words about paying it back. And probably the thing that struck me most of all was that you talked about different projects, and it was People Plus, the B project, and it was very, very clear, which we're proud of, wasn't the fact that you increased the bottom line, but that you impacted in people's lives. And that's the thing that came through. Probably the word, if we did a word cloud here, the word that came through most of all was people. And you have impacted in an awful lot of people's lives through the work that you've done, through the people you've recruited, through the people you've kept. And you've clearly brought a lot of people with you on your journey, and it's been a fascinating journey. And I was looking at the title of the presentation. I think it is, what is Against All Odds, Not to 180 Million. And it struck me that having listened to you, it's not really against all odds, because you'd sort of expected of you, haven't heard that. So thank you very much, and it's been lovely to hear you talk this evening. Thank you.